Good morning, everybody. I have just been caught out in the rain a bit. As predicted, been school summer holidays, this is when we get our rain. And we finally did. Long waited for rain. I think this time most people are not bemoaning the rain arriving, as we usually do during the summer holidays. The school summer holidays, that is. But I think a lot of people are grateful for it. It was a short burst but extremely heavy, blown by the wind, and in just that 3 minutes, 4 minutes, we had about 3 or 4 inches of rain, because it's filled that bucket up nicely by at least that much. As you can see, we put down the pool, scrubbed it out, put it away. But it is evident that obviously it has not just compacted the soil, but there is mold growing in places, which proves just how the clay underneath can easily become compacted and molded and slimy on top. So what I did is I've just started spiking that corner of the lawn when the rain came down, so I'll continue with that in between bursts of rain, because this will be like a water slide. And all of the water will end up here, washing all my soil away, and then there, and then underneath the slabs by the house. We don't want that. So I'm going to spike this lawn and brush in a bit of compost where I can into the holes, and hopefully that'll help. But I might have to dig a trench alongside this bed just as a sink to, I have no idea, maybe just hold the water from going too far forward. I might even have to dig one up the top as well, somewhere. I know I'll dig one. I'm going to measure where the pool goes further up, not so close to the beds. I'll move it over about another 1.5 feet to that direction where you see the ring of green is. That's where the edge of the pool was. And if I move it at least 1.5 feet further up, I'll measure how far I need to come down, and I'll put a trench in there to fill with stones as another drain to hold the water from sliding down the hill more. And then I will terrace the ground and level it so that next year when we put the pool up, it's on level ground and it won't be such a problem. But with the young people and their zealous youth, they don't think of these things. And well, we learn. They won't learn from it because I'm the one fixing it. But yeah, so at least for next year we'll be more prepared for in the spring to put up the pool ready to start gathering water for the summer. And this time I will make sure that I save up for a pump, because we're not having green water to swim in. It might not be a problem for the garden, but I don't want to be slipping and sliding in the pool. So we will prepare for next year for a better and smarter use of the pool. It's already starting to rain again, so I'm going to have to move under cover. So hang on a second. There we go. Yep, it's starting to come down again. I don't know if you can see, but I moved the tomatoes behind the apple and fruit bushes at the back there, because they kept falling over. The bushes have got so big on top now that they're too heavy for the buckets, even filled with water. So I've propped them behind those fruit bushes, and hopefully they'll stabilize them a bit more, because it's really windy. This morning I came down and they were over completely on the ground. So let's hope they haven't been damaged too much, and that they're a bit better over there. They're not going to have as much sunlight, but let's hope that things are okay. We'll see how that goes. That yacon over there, just there, where's my hand? There, that yacon. Because the tomatoes were leaning against it between the pool and the yacon, that yacon has grown a bit leggy. So I'm hoping that, I cut 3 branches that look like they're about to snap down to a new leaf bract, but hopefully that doesn't cause any disease or problems, because I've never had problems with the yacon before with as far as disease goes and pests, except for slugs eating the tubers, but and the leaves when they're young. So, and there's one drooping over, so I'll see if I can stake that in somehow, and hopefully it'll strengthen itself up with a bit more sun, because the sun comes over from that direction in the morning, and hopefully it'll perk up a bit as it grows, because it will grow huge. It will grow as tall as the corn in a good summer, and we've had a good summer, but it has been pretty shaded over there behind the tomatoes. The new potatoes that I put in, because I emptied that tub soil all over that bed with the beetroot in it, and I've put new soil in with the potatoes as I was earthing up. So now I've left them in, and they're already, with this warm spell we've had, the potatoes have just shot up right up there. So we'll see how they go, but they weren't seed potatoes like I said it was going to do next year. They're potatoes that are chitted, and I know I won't get very many off them, but at least there'll be a second crop of potatoes. So I'm not too worried, because it's new soil I've put on there, fresh compost. Yeah, don't know what I'm going to do next. I think next year I'm going to have to put those potatoes in the ground. I'm not sure where. We'll figure something out. But in small spaces, those tall tubes seem to make sense, as long as they're indeterminate potatoes. So I've got to research which potatoes are the indeterminate ones, so that as I earth them up, they keep growing up the stalk. But I think the ones that we've got that the farmers use are the determinate ones. They dig a trench, they put it in, they earth it up, and that's it. They might earth up once more after that. So. But I'd like to get the indeterminate ones, which means that they grow up along the stem as you earth it up. The potatoes, that is. I'll have to do my research and find out which ones they are for that. The wind, as you can see, is really picking up. It's blowing quite a bit. But things are holding up, so I'm not too worried. It's growing, and look at the length of the flower on that amaranth. Man, it's got to be almost 2 foot long. It is huge. So it's worth growing even just for the flowers. They're quite amazing. Tied these in because of the wind. I don't want them snapping. So the goji berry and the buddleia are tied in more so they don't blow around, and also the yarrow or achillea. Sorry. I cut that one tomato down because it was looking really sad, and it just was not appropriate for a hanging basket. But I cut the tomatoes off and I'll ripen them on the windowsill. I hope that doesn't cause disease, because I've spotted there's another little shoot there with fruit. I'll see how that goes. But usually I find that trimming out tomatoes encourages the blight. So I usually let the tomatoes just do their thing naturally without any pinching out of growing tips and elbows and things. I just leave them be, and obviously that one is taking the mick doing that in that basket, and it's not I need to feed those baskets a lot more, because there's more plants in there and pretty hungry tomatoes. We'll see how that goes as well. I find it stop drizzling. Yeah, it's still a bit drizzly, but whatever. They're on the fig. Oh, let me zoom you out again. There you go, the fig against the hedge there has got a little fig on it, one fig. So I'm presuming that'll be for next year's fruit. The lilac there is surviving nicely and growing, that'll go in the front. The acer will go in the front. One of the blackthorn will go in the front for the birds to feed them. Oh, you see the first little bit of rain. And what do we get? Mr. Snail. Look at that. Beautiful creature. Absolutely lovely. Isn't that beautiful? But I'm sorry, mister. And I know it's completely pointless, but you are going over the hedge, and I know it's pointless because apparently snails have like a homing device in them which will lead them back to where they were. Oh well, it'll give my plants a little bit more time, and hopefully the predators a bit more time to get to them before they get to my plants. This area is now used daily, every single day, by family to sit and chat. Unfortunately, I don't get to use it as much as they do, but it's being used by my family. They're outside in the fresh air. They're surrounded by plants and nature, and so I'm happy. It's serving its purpose. We have a place to sit in all weathers. Yeah. I'm contemplating, do I need to take this sheet down now? Because I don't know that we'll get as much hot sunshine, but I think I'll leave it up for at least another month. And but I quite like it there. It's creating quite a nice cozy feel under here. And I'm thinking if I take it down even over the winter, it might just feel a bit colder under here. It might be lighter, but it'll be colder. So I don't know. Maybe I'll leave it up there and see what happens. I don't want to leave it too long because I don't want this to get moldy in the winter weather. So, I'll come up with something to keep a canopy under here. I quite like it. It's cozy. The Jerusalem artichoke, as you can see, already up to that guttering, and it will grow yet taller up to that bathroom window as it did last year. Maybe not this year because I've put them in pots, so that might restrict their growth a bit. I don't know. I hope so, because I don't want it to grow too tall. But if it does, it's okay. More green matter to shred up and put in the compost, or even mulch without the front in between the perennials. The patty pans are slowing down now because I moved them out of reach of the well, a bit further away from the courgettes because they're cross-pollinating, but I don't think they like it there. It's too shady. They like full sun. Oh, there you go. The other tomatoes against the fence have fallen over as well. They're going to have to move too. Oh my goodness. There you are. All things are surviving. It doesn't look too bad. The plants seem very happy. They're perked up and cheerful in the rain. The wind will have knocked all the pollen off the flowers there, and I'm hoping that straight onto the cobs, because there are quite a few cobs still coming up and they need pollinating. So let's hope we haven't lost too much of the pollen off the flowers. There's one new one down there at the end, a new set of flowers, so that's not quite set pollen yet. We'll see how that goes, and I'll pollinate that too. So before the rest of the family wake up now, the kiwi's taking off under there. It likes the shelter. Before the rest of the family wake up, I just wanted to do this. I hadn't made a video since Monday. I posted on Tuesday. Let me take a seat and for once use the space myself. I hadn't made a video since Tuesday because it's just been a crazy week. Extremely busy, exhausting. A couple of highs, quite a few lows, but that's how life goes. And I've neglected a few things that I was looking after and tending to before, and got into a nice routine. Routine messed up a little, but that is life. We learn to pick ourselves up and get going again. And in my last video I spoke about the water shortages and some of the consequences of that, and some of the things we could do to perhaps minimize the effects of this year, but think carefully about our preparation for the following year, just in case we get the same summer again or worse. So I've been thinking about that and the importance of preparing. And I'm not talking about prepping as in doomsday prepping. I don't go for that nonsense. I don't think that's completely impractical and a bit fundamentalist for me. To me, preparing is just doing what we do every day. Young people prepare for adulthood as far as work goes by getting an education and following it through as far as they can, even through secondary and tertiary education. That's called preparing for the workplace as adults, and for other skills and the life skills that you gain along with that kind of preparation, as well as all the life skills you learn in your own home and in your family long before formal education. And those are all preparations. They're preparations for growing up. They're preparations for functioning in society, to make communities, to build communities and thrive. But and also, I mean, when I make a cake, I prepare for making that cake by getting the ingredients ready to do so, and I have a recipe. So those are all preparations for making the cake so that I could enjoy the cake at the end. Those are all preparations. So to me, prepping is just prepping for whatever task ahead I need to do and to achieve a goal. And there's a lot of things that we do every day in our lives to prepare for whatever happens through the day, for whatever we plan for or we want to achieve. So to me, prepping is not a dirty word. It seems to be for a lot of other people. It comes with a rather rolling their eyes kind of motion, because there's a lot of people who do take things, and that's fine. They might be very happy when there are extremes that happen and they're prepared for it, where the rest of us are not. And that's all fine, everybody to their own. But for me, I think I don't want to focus too much on possible maybes. I mean, I will do, but not entirely, because I might spend all my energy and my time preparing for something that's most likely not going to happen here. We're not exactly going to have volcanoes here or things, but we do get earthquakes, well, caused by mostly mining faults in the ground, but those kinds of things are big things to spend a lot of energy and time for. We can do on the sideline, but there are more important things. And I was thinking more about, there's a lot of doom and gloom in the news and on media about the way the world is going, even with the climate change and wars, and there's just such a lot of turmoil in the world. And yes, that is very real. We can't roll our eyes and switch off to it because they're real. But at the same time, we have the option to change something about it, even in our small ways. And yes, one person making a change won't change anything. But 2, 3, 100, 1,000, 1,000,000 individual people making a difference and doing what they can will make a difference. I think there's a big point about perspective and attitude. Our attitudes should be positive ones to fixing a problem instead of sitting in the mire and wallowing and being gloomy about it. And our perspective should be a long-term perspective, very long-term, unto the 7th generation long-term, as is used in permaculture and actually in Christian scriptures. There's a term used to unto the 7th generation, looking at the consequences of our actions and how it affects even 7 generations from us. So yes, as far as preparing goes, I'm a bit concerned about some things happening in the media and the focus that's been given there, and becoming a total distraction from other very important and serious things to prepare for, that people are forgetting about because they're so focused on the current news of the Brexit or British exit of Europe. And I'm afraid that will be blamed for some of the other things that are bound to happen, that have been brewing for many more years than this current topic. So I'll speak a bit more about that in the next video because I'm out of time now. I have to go. But I just want people to know that just as this rain came, when everybody thought the drought was never going to end, there is always positive possibilities and options for us to focus on, and there are choices we can make to make things a little bit better. So whatever the day brings, whether torrential rains and storms, whether drought, or if you're in a colder part, the southern hemisphere and having winter at the moment, whatever the weather brings, whatever your day brings, there is always a positive option, a positive attitude and perspective, a silver lining. It's always harder to find, but so much more worth the effort. Have a good day. Find those silver linings and keep smiling, even as you're preparing. Have a lovely day, everyone.